Bullying. Chapter 3. I pick up the story 3 years on from Chapter 2. I am now in Year 6, and the past 3 years have passed in a blur of school, sports, homework, and more school. My life, it has to be said, is certainly busy and never dull. And yes, I have a baby sister who is now almost 3 years old, and I still find her somewhat inconvenient and would rather not talk about her too much. Year 6 is the top year in the school, and I am at last one of the top dogs. Over the years, the children in my class have gelled into quite a nice group. Except for poor Roland, who is always getting into trouble and is a bit of a pain, really. But I do feel rather sorry for him. One of my earliest memories was being called a bully and was always being in trouble. So I hope that Roland will grow out of it soon, like I did. Miss Giddins' classes had turned into Miss Ford's classes when I switched from Key Stage 1 to Key Stage 2. The work was no easier, and to tell you the truth, I really looked forward to the small classes with Miss Ford. It seemed to me that I was doing really well. Mum and Dad always went to parents' evenings and always came home full of praise, and we always ended up going out for a treat afterwards. Miss Head Teacher was always pleased with whatever I did. And Miss Tully, my Year 6 teacher, well, she was a pushover. She always asked me to answer the questions no one else could answer, and I always got the answers correct. I'm not blowing my own trumpet here, because I had worked really hard to be the brain box I was turning out to be. Miss Giddins was the one who had turned me on to books. And since she did, I cannot get enough of them. I would read and read and read. Whenever I got the chance, I would flip out my e-reader and bury myself in the latest thriller or adventure story that I'd gotten my hands on. Mum told me it was a great way of expanding my horizons. Honestly, when she said things like that, she sounded such an old washerwoman. I couldn't believe she was my cool mum, and she made me laugh. It never put me off reading, though. Don't get me wrong, I like films as well. But reading allowed me to make the characters look like I wanted them to look like, and not like some Hollywood plastic actor. Reading allowed you to get into the story much better than a film ever did. The other boys in my class only read when they had to, say for homework or something like that. At the end of my time in primary school, I can only say I'd had a good time. I'd started off on the wrong footing. I never really got over being branded a bully, and it's something I try to forget. But for the most part, I had enjoyed primary school very much. I had done very well in the academics, having gained the only level 6 in my class SATs results. And although I was not a geek, far from it, I was really popular and had loads of friends. And as we were coming to the end of our time at primary school, I was sad to realise that some of my friends would be going to different secondary schools than me. I only hoped that we would stay in touch. I remember really well the very last day. We had our leavers mass, and it was all about the things we had done as a class from the very beginning of school. I was so relieved that nothing was mentioned about my early years as a bully. The fact was that during the various presentations, I received one for the most promising young student ever to pass through the doors of the school. Me? Who would ever have guessed? The whole thing was much more emotional than I was prepared for, and I ended up in floods of tears, like the rest of my class. Which was a bit ironic, really, because my very first memories was of me at 4 years old, sitting on some steps outside my new school, crying. So as I complete my story, I would like to finish with a bit of a corny cliche. Never judge a book by its cover. You see, I have come to realise that cliches only really exist because they always contain elements of truth. In my case, I had started my journey through school as a young bully. But having been given the space to grow and the help and the encouragement of mum and dad and the teachers at school, I now look forward to my new adventure in secondary school as a well-rounded individual who loved school and thought, even at this stage in my life, do you know, in the future, I think I can make a difference in the world. The end.